It's recording. Okay, so welcome to our team call Monday night. It is August 14th, which is crazy because it's like, what, halfway through the month, right? And so I was talking to Ashley Hollister today. Ashley Bogach Hollister today. And we're just talking about, life. And just talking about sharing our stories and how, like, we started coaching because someone else was sharing their story, right? So I wanted to talk about it because I think a lot of people struggle with this. A lot of people don't really know what to share or how to share their story, or maybe you're trying to share it and you're like getting nowhere with your people, right? So I wanted to just kind of keep it kind of open so like y'all can ask questions, y'all can unmute yourselves and maybe share what's working for you or what's not working for you. But I do want to just like kind of cover a few things first, and then it's going to be like an open mic, open mic night on Team Lord Fit. So y'all can like unmute yourselves and just share maybe like what's working for you or what's not working for you or what you're struggling with. Like if you're like, I don't know what I should be posting, like say that. I would rather y'all tell us what you're struggling with so that we can help you, because I can't help you if I don't know what your struggle is, right? So first of all, as far as you sharing your story goes, there are like a lot of people say like you should be talking to the person that you used to be, right? Which is great, and I'm all for that. But you also have to share the person you are now, not just that old person you used to be, because yes, you want to attract people that are, struggling, not that you want to attract people that are struggling, but that you want to attract the people that understand that struggle, or that you understand their struggle so that you can help them, right? You have the solution to their problem. So you definitely want to attract those people that, you used to be, but you also want to share who you are now, not just like, oh, I used to be depressed and it all be like so sad, right? Like you want to share what Beachbody's done for you now, what it's giving you. So first you're going to have to figure out who you want to reach. So that way, you know how to share at like what time, right? So you have to figure out who you're talking to. And I'm not going to go into like finding your avatar, finding your dream, client. There's tons of trainings on that, y'all. We've done calls on that. So if you want to go listen to the recordings of like how to find your avatar, how to figure out your like niche market, that's totally cool. But that also changes too. Right now, I've been really talking up getting married. I've been waiting for this day. Ashley knows. I've said like from the day that the ring goes on my finger, I am going to like talk up bridal boot camps. I'm going to talk up all this stuff. And Ashley's starting to talk to, like, she's not pregnant or anything. And everyone being like, oh my God, she's pregnant. She's not pregnant yet. But she's been talking to like soon to be mommies. Like she's been kind of diving in there because that eventually is where she's going to be leading. So like if you have something coming up, it doesn't have to be like that big of a deal. It's not like you have to talk about, but maybe you're like starting to prep for a race or a competition or anything, changing jobs, your kids are going back to school. Like it can literally be something as simple as that, but that's all part of your story. Okay. So if you're a new mom, or if you're a mom and your kids are going back to school, like that's a great thing to talk about right now because everyone else's kids are going back to school, but you can tie it into coaching. You can tie it into what you're currently doing with this business, right? So you have to figure out who you're talking to when you're starting to post. You have to, hey Leslie, what's up? You have to figure out who you're talking to in each post, not just like, oh, I'm going to talk every time I post something, it's going to talk to people who are getting married. No, not every time I post something. Yeah, that's great if they want to join my challenge groups or want to join my team or whatever, but that's not like the only person that I'm talking to when I talk to in my posts. Does that make sense? Like you want to, each time you post something, you use that thought process of like, who am I trying to reach in this specific post, right? So you have to know who you're talking to. I like wrote down notes so I wouldn't forget. And then also what I heard on one of the national wake up calls, which I thought was like brilliant. And I don't even remember which call it was. I'd have to go like back and look. But one girl said that she takes 2 weeks out of the month to talk about, to speak to her challengers, like to potential challengers. And then she takes 2 weeks out of the month to speak to her coaches, like her potential coaches. So if you, sorry, I was trying to mute. I don't know what was happening. So if you're sitting here and all you're sharing is fitness related posts, like your sweaty selfies, your Shakeology, your journey with Shift Shop, right? And you're sitting here and you're thinking like, man, I really need to like sign up a coach. Like I want to start growing my team. If you've never talked about coaching or you don't talk about coaching, you're not gonna be able to sign up anyone. And not just like, oh, I run challenge groups as a coach. I'm talking about like what coaching has done for you. What have you been able to pay? If you sold one challenge pack, that's $50, right? So you sold one challenge pack. What did you use that $50 towards? Was it your grocery bills? Because y'all, $50 to some people, that's a big deal. Some people can't afford to pay their grocery bills. Like, especially, and I'm sure you're all getting a lot of money objections right now, right? Like, oh, I got my kids back to school, things to pay for, and I'm broke, and this and this. Like, hello, 50 extra bucks could help someone pay for their kids' school supplies. Like, that's a big deal. It might not seem big to you because you're, like, comparing yourself to someone who's making $1,000 a week or $2,000 a week or someone that's selling 20 challenge packs, right? But that small thing, what might seem small to you, is not so small to someone else. So even just sharing that you were able to pay for your grocery bill with your Beachbody income is a huge deal. Talking about what coaching, so I wrote down like, what did I write down? Where is it? If you're talking to your challenger, if you're trying to attract challengers, you're going to be, I don't want to say like you're just going to be posting about health and fitness, but like if you're doing more of that, that's who you're going to attract, opposed to if you're doing like both. So if you're sharing your health and fitness journey, but then also tying in like coaching and how it's made you feel and what it does for you and the community that it gives you, right? I always tell y'all to talk about this community because that's what really sets us apart from anyone else. And that's what people want to be a part of. People want to be a part of this community. So if you are not talking about coaching and you're wanting to sign up coaches, that's why you're not able to sign up coaches, because you're not talking about the coaching opportunity. And not just like, I'm not saying to just make a post, join my team. Like, that's not what I'm saying here, y'all. I'm saying, what was your life like before coaching? Who were you before coaching? What did you not have that you wanted? Were you at a job that you hated, or are you at a job that you don't like? I'm not saying to go blast your boss and say you hate your job and get fired. Like, I don't want anyone getting fired. I don't want anyone, getting in trouble. But like, if you're unhappy or you're not feeling like purpose driven, talk about, you don't necessarily have to be like, oh, the job I'm in is not giving me purpose, right? But you can talk about how coaching is making you feel like you have a purpose, right? I didn't hate my job before I started this. I thought it was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And then once I started this, I started realizing like, man, that is not what I was meant to do, right? So I started just sharing about that. Like, I started feeling like I was doing something that had purpose. I felt like I was making a difference in the world, which is something that I wanted to do. And I wasn't doing that with my other job. And I never hated my job. I wasn't like miserable crying coming home after work. I just wasn't happy. I wasn't feeling how I feel now, right? So talk about that. Whether you're wanting to quit your job, if you love your current job, talk about your job. Like, that's great, but also talk about what Beachbody is giving you that maybe that job isn't giving you, right? Is it just helping you make extra income? Maybe you're a teacher and you absolutely love your kids and you absolutely love your job, but y'all don't get paid worth crap. And this is helping you, make that extra, and y'all don't. I know y'all don't get paid worth crap. So, if you could make an extra income just by helping other people feel good, like, but you still love teaching, you know what I mean? Like, talk about that. So, I would suggest you starting to post, and if you're brand new and you're like, I'm brand new and I really do want to just attract challengers right now, like, I'm not necessarily wanting to sign up a bunch of people on my team, totally fine, but you have to fill in the gaps between your lifestyle and the challenge group post or your health and fitness journey. Like, if all you're posting, why is there always a bug in here? Every time I get on a call, there's a freaking bug like flying around my head. I don't understand. And I'm like, my office is not dirty. I'm not gross. Okay. Anyway, I get so distracted by them, and they like come every time I do a call. Um, anyway, and Ashley's cracking a laughing over there. So if if you're just constantly posting like your Shakeology and your sweaty selfie, like that's not going to inspire anybody. You need to talk about that person that you were before Beachbody. You have to talk about the person that you are now, but you also have to like lead them through the journey. You have a powerful story, whether you think you do or not. Every single person on this call has an amazing story. Okay, you might think you're like, I'm boring, I don't leave my house, I don't do anything. Well, guess what? I don't leave my house either. I don't do anything exciting either. Nothing exciting, nothing. But I share my story anyway. I share what I'm doing. Anything that you're doing can lead back somehow to Beachbody. If you are out with your family and you were able to buy your kids ice cream and you're just able to like hang out with them instead of being glued to your phone, or you're unplugging, like take a picture, make a post later and say, I was able to like spend some extra time with my family today because I have the extra freedom to be able to. Or I'm, whatever you want to share. Okay, but your story is powerful. You just have to believe that. And I think a lot of people, especially on our team, and I don't know why, struggle with believing in themselves. And y'all are all freaking amazing. And I don't know why you can't see what I see. I wish you could. So read some PD. Read PD, y'all. Like read PD, because that's also where I get a ton of my posts from. Like I get majority of my posts from personal development. So if you're not reading PD and you're like, I don't have anything to post about, then you're not, like, you should be able to get something from your personal development. Talk about reading personal development. Talk about what you're reading, what your aha moments from your reading is, right? Because I actually had someone ask me the other day, like, what I read. They were like, you always post about what you read, like about like the things you read, but I never really name what I'm actually reading, right? And it started a conversation, right? Like that starts conversation. So make sure that you are adding value. You're not just staking your Shakeology. Oh, I love my shake. It's so good. It helps me kick cravings. Okay, like that's great every once in a while. But like, why did you choose Shakeology and not something from GNC? What is it doing for you, right? Like, what is it? Who were you before Shakeology, right? And that I would limit those things to like once a week and share more about your story, like you and your story, not Shakeology's story, your story. And I have a lot of people say like, well, I'm just not creative. If you're telling your story, you don't necessarily have to be creative. You don't have to like, I feel like coming up with a post about Shakeology or coming up with a post even about like your workouts, you have to be a little bit, or you don't have to be, but like you think you have to be a little bit more creative, right? Like you're like, okay, what am I going to say about Shakeology? What has it done for me, right? So you're like coming up with all this like cute sayings, so these little cute emojis, right? Whereas like when you're telling your story, you're just being you. You're just sharing like a piece of your journey. So it shouldn't be as hard as far as like the content goes. It shouldn't be as hard to come up with because it's your story. You're not having to like not that you're making anything up when you're posting about Shakeology, but you know what I mean? Like you're not having to create or craft a post because it's there. You just have to put it into words. Does that make sense? So what I want y'all to do is brainstorm a list of feelings that you felt before Beachbody, who you were before Beachbody. Just a list of like what you would have, I guess, say like, what would you have described yourself as being? What kind of person were you before coaching came along, before the accountability groups came along, before the fitness programs came along, right? And if you're brand new and you're like, I literally just signed up last week and I haven't really dived into coaching yet, right? Like I'm just getting started. That's okay. You still got something from it the last week, right? Maybe you met a new friend. Maybe you just feel more positive because you're reading personal development. Maybe you haven't really dove in yet, but you're excited to. Like talk about that, right? But I also want you to make this list of who you were before Beachbody. Were you happy before? Or you're not happy? Why weren't you happy? I want you to write it down. I want you to write down, did you want more out of your life? Were you happy with your life? Were you happy with your job? Were you unhappy with your job? What was your job not giving you that, or what is your job not giving you that you want? Or what is the reason why you became a coach? Why do you like to coach? What do you feel when you get, someone messaging you, telling you that you made a difference in their life? Like, how does it make you feel? right? I want you to write down all of these things and keep it in a note on your phone or on your computer or somewhere where when you're starting to post and you're like, man, I'm stuck on posting, I don't know what I'm going to post about. Go read that. Go read that list, because that's going to help you. It's going to help you step outside your comfort zone. It's going to help remind you of who you were, and it's going to help you craft that post, okay? Let's see, what else did I write down? What have you gained since becoming a coach? Physical, not just your physical journey though, y'all. Like I said, financially, was that the call from Becca Robinson? Maybe. There was a call and I like wrote down some stuff from her. This isn't all from her though, but it might have been Becca Robinson that I wrote down this stuff from. I'm not really sure though. I listened to like 3 calls today, so they're kind of all like mixed in my head. But yeah, so everything that you're doing should tie back to Beachbody. So, you know, anything, and I'm not saying you have to bring up Beachbody every single post, right? But you should be able to, in some way, go back to coaching, go back to the community that it's given you, right? And like I said, I don't know if this was Becca Robinson's call. I don't think it was Becca Robinson. I think another girl that I listened to said she posts for 2 weeks so she'll do like 1 week challenge group where she's sharing more of like her health and fitness journey. She's sharing more about the nutrition aspect. And then the next week she talks a lot about her coaching sneak peeks or her coaching, like what lifestyle, like what has coaching given her. She talks a lot about who she was before coaching, like before she became a coach. And then the next week she does challenge groups, and the next week she does coaching. So it like flip-flops, right? Which I think is a great, I never even like thought to do that. And I know I lack in, which is why I'm not a huge recruiter when it comes to coaches. I'm good at signing up challengers. It's just, I don't, I personally, like, I'm not the person that signs up 10 coaches a month normally. And that's because I don't talk, and I talk about coaching, but I need to get better at talking about coaching, right? I need to get better at talking about what coaching's done for me, not just the challenge group side of it, and not just the community side of it, the financial side, the mental side, the emotional side, like everything, right? So we can all improve on that. But I also want you to know, like, you can never talk about your story enough. Because you make one post sharing your story, a piece of your story, like 7% of people on Facebook are going to see that piece. So if you want to share that piece again, changing it up just a tidbit, like, y'all, changing it meaning like change the picture. Or I've reused pieces of my story. Like if you go look on my page, especially my like page, if I had a post that was really good that like grabbed people's attention, and it was something that I'm like, still either struggling with or something that I can still talk about, then I just reuse that content. I'm not saying to do that once a week. Don't use the same post every single week, but every few weeks, like if you had a good post, or if you were like, man, like I really like this message that I'm trying to get out there, reuse it. Just change the wording a little bit or change the picture. And that's okay to do. I wouldn't do that every single day, but you just gotta step outside that comfort zone and get okay with with sharing your story. And I know it can be scary, and I know it can be, you just have to think of the way I think about it, and the way I've always thought about it is if this little piece of my story can inspire one person, yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, right? But if I can inspire one person to change their life, someone who, for me, because I dealt with this, someone who was depressed and crying every time she looked in the mirror, like physically couldn't look in the mirror without crying. If I can help that one person, that one girl that struggles with that, then that, me being a little bit vulnerable for a second and then getting over it in like 5 minutes, if I can inspire that one person, then it's worth it to me. And just because you're not getting a ton of likes or a ton of comments or a ton of engagement the first time you post that piece of your story, that does not mean that you haven't inspired somebody. It does not mean that someone hasn't seen it and taken it in and said, man, like that spoke to me. I had a person today who friend requested me the other day, and she's been liking all my stuff, and I have no idea who she is. And I messaged her just saying, hey girl, like, because I've noticed she's been liking a lot of my stuff. And this is something that I have kind of forgot I even had on my page, but a long time ago, there's like in your bio, I guess, you can put like, I don't know if it's your bio, but you can put like a picture of you, right? So this is like anytime someone goes to my page, this is like pinned to the top of my page. If you go look on my Facebook page, on my personal page, this is on there. It's like right under everything else. Okay. So this was done like a long time ago. Okay. I haven't changed anything with it, whatever. She like screenshot it because it has like a little story, I guess, with it. Like I crafted a post with it, and she screenshot it, and she was like, yeah, I read this the other day. She's like, somehow I came across your page and I read this the other day and it spoke to me. And she wrote out this like long thing. No, I don't even know this person. I have no idea who she is. I don't even know how she came across my page. But that post was months ago, okay? And so I want you to know, like, just because, you know, they're not liking or commenting or reaching out right away, that does not mean someone isn't going to come across your post months down the road and say, that inspired me. Like, that helped me. And this girl, like, poured her heart out to me, and I was, like blown away just because of that one post I made. Probably, it might have even been a year. Like, it was forever ago, okay? So I want you, like, I know a lot of people, especially as new coaches, are like, I'm not getting any engagement. No one wants to join me. I've been doing this for 3.5 years. I've had people that recently, who have been friends with me for a very long time, just reach out saying, hey, I'm ready to join you, or can you send me more information? You know, I've been watching you, and I've been waiting for you to quit. I've been waiting for you to give up. I've been waiting for you to throw in the towel, because majority of people who start this journey, who start coaching, they don't last with it. And people aren't going to invest in something that they think that you're just trying to make a quick buck off of, or that you are just going to like leave in a week. Right? And it happens. I've talked to a lot of people whose coaches just sign them up and then nothing. They like vanish. They don't help them. They don't get them in groups. They don't do anything. They don't ever talk to them again. And some of these people that follow you might have had that experience. So if you are sharing a piece of you every single day, and I'm not saying it has to be like a sappy post every time. No, it doesn't have to be like a sad post every time, or something that makes you want to like throw up every time you're going to press play. But if you're sharing a piece of your story, your journey, with whatever you struggle with, whatever you is on your heart, that's going to relate to somebody. I made a post about church. I don't go to church. I'm trying to start going to church. I'm trying to be a better Catholic for my fiance, because he wants me to. So I'm trying, okay? And I made a post about it, and it was not comfortable for me to post about it, because I'm not comfortable going to church, and I'm not comfortable talking. It's just me, right? And so I made a post about it, and like I told him, I'm like, man, I need to start talking about church more. Like, my engagement was crazy. People were reaching out to me because because I was so authentically real about it. I said I was uncomfortable. I was like, I was nervous walking into church. I thought, like, I don't know. Like, it had been 10 years since I walked into a church. So like, it felt weird to me. And I shared that, and and a lot of people who related to that, or who could relate to that, or who maybe go to church and understand, you know, that feeling, reached out to me and said, like, thank you just for sharing that. It had nothing to do with health and fitness. It had nothing to do with Beachbody, right? But it got people, you know, seeing a piece of me that I'm not necessarily comfortable sharing, but it helped other people who might be feeling that same way know that it's okay to feel that way. So if you are sharing something that you're uncomfortable sharing, think about the way I think about it. What if she, meaning the person that you used to be, doesn't get this message, doesn't hear my heart here? Like, what if that there's a girl in her room right now who's literally crying and looking in the mirror because she feels so upset about herself, right? Like, what if she doesn't see this post? Where is she going to be in a week, in a month, in a year? Like, I want to reach that person. So I'm going to keep on sharing, and I'm going to keep on doing what I need to do to get to that person. And you can't help everybody, y'all. I'm not saying you're going to help every single person in the entire world who struggles with whatever you struggle with. But if you can inspire that one person every single day, whether they're ordering from you or not, you're doing your job. Okay? So that was my spiel. Also, real quick, I forgot to mention this. I have a training that me and Ashley created it. I actually posted it in our team page, and I'll post it in Tribe Health. It's like an online training, y'all, and it's really for new coaches. But I actually was going through it today as a coach, like, just to see what it looked like. And there was some really good content as far as like what to post. Like I have 2 graphics in there that kind of give you a list of just like example things to post, or I guess posting ideas that y'all could go off of. So I'll post it in there and y'all can go through the training if you want. I'm not saying you have to go through everything. I mean, some of it's like super basic, like what is Success Club, right? But it's always good to refresh yourself, especially if you've never been through a Coach Basics. I never had the opportunity to go through a Coach Basics unless I like did it myself. So it is pretty much Coach Basics, what you have in the online office, except it's a little bit more tweaked to me and Ashley style than, the boring like pamphlet in the back of the online office style. So if y'all, I'll post that I posted it in our team page, but I'll post it again. It's pinned to in the video in the top of our team page. But I'll post it again just so y'all have it if y'all want to check it out. But there really is some good content in it. And I think it would be helpful as far as like what to post to. So does anyone have anything that is work? Erin Wooden over there is kicking major butts, y'all. I just got to give her a little shout out. Because she really is. And Sarah I don't know how to say Sarah's last name, Freiberger, is not on this call, but Sarah Freiberger signed up like 4 people today, which is like insane. And a lot of you are also too, but I just know they're on my team cup right now. So I'm like, I see what they're doing. It's insane. So Erin, do you want to share what you're posting or like how you're sharing your story? Maybe on like what's working for you?
I don't know. What's weird for me, like, anytime I post anything, honestly, with results, I get like at least 10 people messaging me, asking me what I'm doing. So that's a big hit for me. Like whenever I finish up something.
But can I stop you really quick? You're not just like posting day 1 that you're doing a program and then on day 22 posting your results.
Right. No, I'm posting each day and kind of explaining, like if I struggled or how it was going. And I guess people too, like keeping up with that journey is helping, but I've honestly had more people reach out to me, which is crazy for me because I don't know, it's really weird.
Yeah, because you're doing so well with your sharing though. Like,
right.
Very consistent. She shows up every day, and it's not just Beachbody, y'all. Like if you go look at her page, like she shares about her little girl and her family, and she's all teaching. She's a teacher, so it's back to school time, right? She's sharing about that kind of stuff. So whatever speaks to you, like whatever you are dealing with right now, like post about it. Again, her posts aren't like super sad. She's got freaking abs, so she's like, rocking those abs and showing them, which I would do too every second I could if I had freaking abs like her after having a baby. Bod goals right there after I have a kid.
Me too. And I'm one, like I struggle with, like it's hard for me to share about my job because I am a teacher and, it's hard. Like I have past students' parents on my Facebook and, no matter what, no matter if I dislike my job or not, I have to go in there every day with a smile on my face because no kid deserves to see a miserable person. So I ain't like big time struggling this year, big time with teaching and just the stress of it. And it's catching up to me, but I'm busting butt with this and trying to make things happen.
Yeah. And again, y'all, you don't have to when I say share about your jobs, you don't have to share that you're miserable there. I mean, even if you are,
right.
Like Ashley was miserable for a very long time and it couldn't share that because, obviously you don't want to burn your bridges. You don't want people to think that you're not appreciative of having the job that you have, right? So I'm not saying to sit here and be like, I'm so miserable at my job. No, but Josh Coates is, if y'all don't follow him, he's not a Beachbody coach. His wife is, but he is, he does a lot of trainings for Beachbody coaches. I do a lot of his trainings. And he said, he used to go into his job and think of it as, this is my loan for my business. This is my loan for me to build my dreams. And so he was like, I poured my heart into that. I, smiled. He was buffing and washing cars all day. That was his job. He was cleaning cars. And he's like, I literally was, smiling the whole time I was cleaning them, and just everyone else was bitching and complaining around him. And he made the best out of it. Because guess what, y'all? I know some people don't believe in this, but the energy that you put out is the energy you're going to get. So if you're sitting there wallowing in the fact that you're miserable in your job or in your life or in whatever your relationship or whatever it is that you're unhappy in right now, then if you keep wallowing there and you keep like, oh, my life's bad and this is happening, that's where you're going to stay. That's where you're going to stay. So if you want to quit your job, if you want to reach a certain income, if your finances suck right now, right? Like you're broke as a joke, but you want to make more money, then tell yourself every single morning, I attract money. I attract making money. I am good at making money. Like seriously, I know it sounds cheesy. Because I was that person that like rolled my eyes when Lindsay Stay was like, affirmations. I'm like, I'm not doing that stupid shit, right? Like, no, but it works. I promise you it works. The more you tell yourself like positive things will come. So if you're sitting here like, I can't hit Success Club, everyone's telling me no, no one wants to sign up, no one wants me to help them, that's what you're gonna get. Like seriously, it's what you're gonna get. I can't tell you anything different. I go into the first month every month saying, I'm at Success Club 10. Am I at Success Club 10 overnight? No, but I believe I'm gonna do it. And I tell myself all the time, I'm at Success Club 10. I'm gonna have at least five people every month that I'm gonna help. And I do it. And because I believe I can, and also because I tell myself I put it out there. I do the work. I don't just like, I'm gonna hit Success Club 10 and like magically it happens. No, I put in the work. I show up just like Erin and Ashley and everyone else here that has those points, right? Or that helps those people. But you can't like wallow in that. All right. So if you are not happy, or if you are happy, or you're just stressed out with your life, positive affirmations. Wake up every morning. If you want to join our Miracle Morning crew, we wake up, Sarah, Archer, Jillian, Erin. There's no one else on here that does it. But if you want to Ashley, sometimes, if you want to wake up, and Marcel, I just saw you on here. But we wake up and it's freaking early, y'all. And we're all like this when we wake up, all right? 5 a.m. every morning, we are Zooming, we mute ourselves, and we do positive affirmations. We do whatever we want to do. But like seriously, y'all, like I sit there, I meditate for 5 minutes, and I do at least 5 to 10 minutes of positive affirmations. Lindsay Stay says she writes them on Post-it cards or Post-it notes and like puts them around her house. So when she goes into the fridge, there's a positive affirmation sitting right there. Like she did. She said that she like framed one and put it on her fridge and like put it with like a magnet or something. So every time she opened the fridge, it was right there, or a cabinet, or like your mirror, something where you're brushing your teeth. Put a positive affirmation. I know it sounds cheesy, and I know it sounds like that's not going to help me. But if you are constantly telling yourself, like, I'm going to do a good job at my job today, even if I'm stressed, even if I'm miserable, even if I'm not the happiest right now, I'm going to do a good job because those kids deserve it, or my boss deserves it, or I deserve to give good to other people, right? I deserve to do my best that I can so that best will come to me. Like you have to think that way if you want something positive to come from your life, right? So thank you, Erin, for sharing. And y'all, like she said, yes, people are messaging her when she posts her results, but she's sharing her journey along the way. It's not just day 1, day 22, every time she posts, okay?
Another thing that I wanted to say too, literally like whenever I posted my results, y'all had like over 70 something likes on it the other day. And this afternoon, as soon as I got home, I went straight to that post, and all the people that I've never messaged before, I just sent out a message saying, hey, how are you doing? I just want to stop and say thank you for liking my post. Things like that keep me motivated. And usually I'll get back a response saying, what are you doing, by the way? It's like they don't want to comment on the post asking what you're doing, but they will in a private message. And and they won't say anything until you reach out to them. So I find that's kind of gotten a few people interested as well.
Yeah, people are afraid to comment because they don't want their friends or someone else to see them comment, because then they're like admitting that they need help or that they want to start a journey, and not everyone's comfortable sharing that. I mean, obviously, we all sometimes struggle with sharing it, right? And we're coaches. So like think about like the average person, or maybe the person that you were. I say the average person, but you know what I mean? Like the person that you were before coaching. Like I know for me, like I sat and watched my coach for like 2 or 3 months before I even messaged her. I never liked her stuff. I never commented on anything because I was like, and we weren't even mutual. I mean, she lived in Pittsburgh. I didn't even know her. Like I met her on the internet. Okay. So it's not like we had mutual friends, but I just didn't want it was almost like I was afraid to comment because then I felt stuck. I felt like I had to do whatever she was doing, and I didn't know anything about it. So I was like, I'm not going to comment on that. Like, I'm not commenting on that. But I would watch and watch and watch, and then finally I was like, I'm just going to message her and ask. I messaged her and asked, and I ignored her for like a few months because I was like, I don't know about that. I don't want to do that. So she would message me, and I would ignore her. She would message me, and I would ignore her. And then finally, I saw something she posted that was like, all right, I'm in. Like, I need it. I know I need it. So I messaged her and I said, okay, look, I know I've been ignoring you for the past 5 months, but I'm ready. So if people are ignoring you or people are not responding to you, that does not mean they stopped watching. More than likely, they're watching you even more. So if you are reaching out to people, if you are posting and you're thanking these people and you're whatever, starting those conversations, and then you go MIA and you stop posting or you stop sharing, they're going to be like, oh, well, guess she quit, because they're watching you. You don't know it. They are watching you. I promise you they are watching you. Okay? So you have to stay consistent in that too. That is key. Like when things, and I've been there, y'all. I get it. Life happens. Things happen. People get sick. Kids get sick. Your life feels like it's like upside down. That's when you need to dive into this community the most. And I'm not saying you have to like share all your dirty laundry or share every single thing that's going on. But like when my friend passed away unexpectedly, like if it wasn't for Beachbody, I don't want to know where I would have been. And I didn't. I wouldn't say MIA for a week, but like I wasn't present, right? I wasn't mentally present there, and I still showed up though. Like I still, in my groups, I told them what was going on. I told them I was struggling, and on my page, I said, look, I'm gonna be MIA for a couple of days. I have a lot going on. I lost somebody unexpectedly, and I don't even know where I'm at right now, like mentally, emotionally, whatever, right? So I didn't just like, but I also didn't like just disappear and then come back like 3 weeks later. I still tried my best. I gave it my best. There were days where all I did was cry in my bed. I didn't post about it because I mentally couldn't even like form words. But I still showed up in my challenge groups. I wanted my challengers and my team to know. I went live on my team and think I cried for like a good 30 minutes. But I leaned on them and I asked my team for help. And I told them, like, look, I'm going to be MIA for a little bit, but can you please like check on me, like reach out to me. And then when I was ready and mentally okay to come back and say, you know what, I'm good. And I just need to give a shout out to my team who like held me up because I could barely, hold myself up. Like I had even more, I guess, motivation and drive because I saw like the community that wrapped its arms around me when I needed it the most. And that's what I leaned on. So when things happen, and I'm again not saying you have to just like not pretend like everything's hunky-dory. Like don't do that. Like share your struggle, share what you're doing, what you're comfortable sharing. And if you're not, it's okay. But you can't expect to go MIA for a week every time something happens in your life. You can't because it's starting over. It's starting from day one, and then you're just continuously rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding, and eventually it's just going to crumble. You can't build a steady foundation, or you can't build, what's the saying? You can't build a house on a rickety foundation. Like, and if you're continuously rebuilding, that foundation is just getting ricketier. That's not a word, but you know what I mean? Like it's getting less stable and less stable and less stable, and then it's just going to come crashing down. And it sucks because I've seen so many amazing coaches that have so much potential let life get in the way. And then 4 months later, they're like, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I would have just kept going, So make sure you keep that in mind too, because like I said, I see it happen a lot. And that really has nothing to do with what we were talking about, but it just kind of came to me, so I just wanted to share that. Okay, anyone else want to share, like, what, maybe if you're doing something and you're like, I'm doing this and I'm doing what you're telling me to do, and it's not, Leslie, are you crying? Is she crying? No, Leslie, my girl. Leslie is a perfect freaking example of how you keep freaking going. Seriously. You
I'm
are.
sorry. I was at the consignment cell for the kids, so I've been driving home, and now I'm sitting in my driveway, and it's like dark outside. But no, like you're exactly right. I mean, I'm not going. It's recording. I'm going to be on YouTube crying.
You are fine. You are amazing.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't mind sharing. Like it just because when you talk about talking about the community, I mean that was one thing that kept me going. So for y'all that don't know, I lost my son last year in October. I was 18 weeks pregnant, and so going through that, like, oh man, so many emotions, but I never stopped posting about just my journey and my struggles and the community through Beachbody, and I mean, that's what kept me going, literally. Like, I remember going to, like you said, going to your team, and I remember going live in there crying and just telling them I love them, and I'm here, but I'm not here, and your team sent me flowers, and my team, like, made me stuff and sent me stuff. Becky, like, made me a whole baby blanket and diaper thing and booties, and I mean, all this stuff, like, stuff that's just in memorial of losing my son. And I mean, and that, I gave up on my journey for several months. But I knew that this, like, I gave up on me being healthier, but I didn't give up on being a coach, And so I gained some weight back, but, sharing that struggle and sharing all that, people can really relate to that. So like Jesse says, don't give up, at all whenever life happens, because other people go through the same situations. Like, I have people message me almost every day that do not tell the world that they've had a miscarriage, that come to me and, like, because you posted that, and because you haven't given up, and because of your consistency and you being vulnerable and you being real, I am doing this too, and I'm right there with you, and I want you to know that you inspire me to keep going. And so, and that just, I mean, every day I get those messages, I cry. I'm like, I could have stopped, but I didn't. So like Jesse said, no matter what happens in your life, and no matter what you go through, no matter, what, I don't know, whatever gets thrown your way, just don't give up. Even though you might need a few days, tell them, hey, I need some time. Like I said, for me, it was really October through January, and I didn't do great in my business during that time. Thankfully, I did enough before that happened to still get me where I needed to, but I didn't do that great business wise because I wasn't being consistent in my health journey, but I was still showing up on Facebook, and people were still following me, and this year's been great for my business so far. I mean, so like I said, and it's mainly because I'm able to share that, because this community has allowed me and has shown me what I'm even fighting for now. Like, it's so different. I don't know. I have so many stories now, but it makes me realize even more why I want to do what I'm doing as a coach. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Seriously, y'all, if you go follow her, like, amazing. Like, you just, and the thing about it is like that has obviously nothing to do, that has nothing to do with Beachbody, right? But like, she's taken that and inspired other people, whether it has to do with Beachbody or not. Like, you all have something that you can give to this world. You personally have something that you can share that is going to relate to other people. Whether you think it's gonna help somebody or not, you never know. I didn't think that. I always thought, I'm not having a story. What are you talking about? I have a story. I don't have anything to share that's going to be valuable. And I did believe that for the longest time, until I started realizing that every piece of my story, every part of my story will relate to someone out there. So I want you to start getting, like I said, make that list of how you felt before Beachbody. Were you scared to sign up as a coach? Did you think this was fake? Did you think that this was a joke? Did you think that this was something that, like, was not possible for you? Have you been through a really, really hard struggle? And I'm not saying you have to share that necessarily if it's something that you're not comfortable with. Like, I'm not saying to pour out all your demons or pour out the things that you're truly not comfortable with. I'm not saying that, okay? But if there's something that you are just holding in because you're afraid of what someone from high school is going to think, or someone that you really don't care about is going to think, or maybe you are afraid of what your family's going to think, the people that you actually love, but sit them down and tell them, like, look, I'm thinking about sharing this piece of my story. I had to do that because I was afraid of what Tyler was going to think. I was afraid of, because I didn't talk to anybody about what I was going through back then. So a lot of the stuff that I share, like, no one knows, no one, before I share it. And so there were things that I was like, all right, I think I need to kind of let him know that I'm going to be sharing this piece, and see, not to get permission, but just to let him know so that he wasn't like blindsided by certain things, right? So if there's things like that you're like not sure of, talk to somebody about it. Even talk to another coach and just say, like, hey, I think that, this piece of my story would be valuable to somebody. Like, what do you think about it? Like, and Jesse, I know a lot of you aren't in this training. I'm in a lot of trainings. But Jesse Reagan has a social team builder training. It's like a like page training. And he suggests you getting interviewed by a fellow coach. So it's just you and that person. I actually did this a long time ago. I probably should redo mine. But I did this with one of my old success partners. And honestly, like, it brought up so many things that we both didn't even realize, like, were part of our story. And pretty much what it was just like, all right, tell me about why you started Beachbody. So you start just talking about, like, your journey. You start talking about the different aspects of your life. And there were things that like I actually shared about this once, and I had no idea that it had anything to do with my story. But now it kind of like, it's like a full circle. I didn't get into the high school that I applied to. I was the only person in my grade that didn't get accepted to the high school that she wanted to go to. And in New Orleans, if you're from here, it's a big deal. Like, that's a huge deal. And I felt stupid, and I felt like a failure, and I felt like all of these things. And that kind of set me up for when I wanted to go after certain goals or dreams or do certain things that I didn't feel like I could, because I thought that I was going to fail at it, since I had failed at one thing that was supposed to be easy. Like, no one didn't get in, like, everyone got into the high school that they applied to except for me. And I had good grades. Like, that was the worst part. Like, I had tried, and I had put in effort, and I did all this stuff, and I didn't get there, and I felt like a failure. So, like, at the time, when I first started coaching, I'd never shared that story ever. And when in my interview, when I started talking to her, I said something about that, and my success partner was like, why don't you ever share about that? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think. And she's like, that's like a huge part of your story. So you just talking to someone else can be huge. And we did it through Zoom, because she still does, but she's no longer my success partner. She's no longer a coach, but she lives in Philly. So we Zoomed, we recorded ourselves. I recorded me talking, and then she recorded herself talking, and we saved it on YouTube on, like, a private link that no one can see, so that you can go back and re-listen and kind of get pieces and parts. But there were things that like, I just didn't even think to be anything to do with Beachbody, right? Or anything to do with me being able to help somebody else. And it did. Like, I shared that a few times, and I went live about it, like, right after we had talked about it, and I was crying because I don't know, I got emotional about it. And I had a lot of people comment on my video and reach out to me saying, like, I didn't get into the high school that I applied to too, and I understand. Like, it really did reach a lot of people that I never imagined it would reach. So even if there's things like that you're like, oh, that's not really valuable, like, you have no idea what's going to inspire somebody else. No idea. And yes, Angela, I wouldn't have met you, and it would have been really sad. I loved my high school, don't get me wrong. Like, it was the best thing that's have ever happened to me. It truly was. But at the time when you're 13 and all your friends are getting into school, and you're like stuck with nowhere. And the only reason I got into my high school that I went to was because my mom went there. The only reason they let me in, because they didn't really have the space for me, but they made the space. So it's just like you just feel like defeated, right? So if maybe you were in sports and you like lost a big game and you were the reason why you lost the big game, and you know, like things like that, like anything like that can relate to someone. Does anyone else have anything that they want to say, maybe that they're doing? Because I know it's 8:50. Or Ashley, raise your hand. I see you over there. I already knew you were gonna want to say something.
So I just wanted to say that I heard a call earlier today that when you post for everyone, you're posting to no one. So when we're talking about your story, it's super important, guys, for you to be yourself. And I know that for a lot of us, it's hard sharing these things, right? Like, y'all are all looking at Jessie like, man, I don't want to share that stuff in my closet, right? But the thing is that people want to know that they're not alone. Like, did that sink in? Because that's, like, if you've been listening to this call at all, like all these embarrassing moments, all these hard moments, all these things that we're all so scared to share, you never realize the impact that it can make on others' lives as well as yours. Because when you put it out there and then you realize, wow, I'm not the only one that feels that way. I'm not the only one that's gone through something like that. It makes this a bigger picture for you and for the people that you're working with. And that's how you attract people that are going to help you grow your business and are going to help you reach your goals. And it's not to be selfish or anything like that, but guys, it's so, so important to be yourself when you're sharing your story, because this is your story. And your story is what attracts your people, right? So you don't want to share Jessie's story or my story because you're not going to relate to those people. So when you're making posts about your story or about your life, like just remember, like don't just throw up a post. Like it's better to only post 2 to 3 meaningful posts a day than to just throw up 5 to 10 posts that mean nothing to no one, if that makes any sense. I don't know, I heard that on a call today and it really like sunk in with me because I've been kind of taking a backseat to my storytelling because I feel like I kind of, since I've become a full-time coach, I've almost lost part of my identity because I was that miserable administrative assistant, you know, and now I'm not. Like I'm so happy every day. And for me, it's so hard to share that because I know there are so many people out there that are not like that, you know? So I just have to remember that, like, not only am I sharing my now, but I'm sharing my past as well. And I promise you guys, like, when you do open up about your stories, about whether it's work or relationship or just feeling like you're alone because you're a mom and, you know, you're the only one that feels that way, right? Like, there are so many people out there that as soon as you post something like that, they're gonna start liking or commenting, or they're gonna start following you even stronger because they're like, dang, I felt the same way, and then this girl's speaking to me. So find your inner voice, guys. Find the way you speak to people. Find your story. Boom. That's all I had to add.
Love it. Love it. Anyone else before we go? We have a few minutes left. Yeah, y'all. So if you're sitting here and it's August 14th, okay, it's Team Cup month. Who's on a Team Cup? Raise your hand if you're on a Team Cup. All right. How many of you have hit Success Club? Yeah, all right. So majority of you put up your hand, right? And the majority of you have not hit Success Club, and that's okay, y'all. It's okay. I don't want you like freaking out, like, oh my God, now I have to go like message all these people. Tell your story. Tell your story, because that is what people, that when I talk about, you want to know my biggest, I guess, attraction post, or the biggest post where I get people messaging me asking for help, is when I get vulnerable and I talk about my depression, my anxiety. And it's not just like Transformation Tuesday, I was depressed here, I'm not depressed here. No. When I talk about, you know, having anxiety attacks, because I still have them. When I talk about, you know, when I went live like a few weeks ago about being like, I just woke up in a bad mood and I was really up, like I was going through like a depression spell is what I like to call it. Like I could not get happy. I wanted to lay in bed all day. Like I talked about it. Those are the posts that get the most transaction, I guess, not transaction, but you know what I mean? The most action, right? Most people where they're reaching out to me. I'm not faking it. I'm not like pretending like I'm sad. Like I'm legitimately sad, or I'm legitimately struggling, but I share that and people relate to that. They don't relate to like the sweaty selfie, super happy all the time, right? Like, no, that's not That's not what people relate to. Are you guys getting more feedback when you post a certain time during the day? That's a good question. So we were actually, Ashley was talking about this earlier. So she used to post like in the morning before she went to work, during her lunch break at work, and then after work. And she was attracting a lot of people, or, talking to her tribe of the people that were like in that same realm, I guess, the people that were going to work, right? The people that were working 9 to 5 and going to work at that specific time and having their lunch break at that specific time. And now that she's not doing that, it's kind of not putting her on the back burner, but like she's not reaching those people. She's reaching people that are either home already, and not that that's a bad thing, but she's just reaching a different market, I guess. So I honestly, there's not like I don't have a time frame of like, you should post on this at this time during this day, right? I would say to post when if you work, when you catch yourself on Facebook the most. So if you wake up and the first thing you do when you wake up, which I would urge you not to do, because I think you should focus on what Miracle Mornings taught me, is that you should focus on you first and not your inbox or your Facebook. But I get guilty of it. I wake up and I start scrolling, right? Like who here does that? They pick up their phone and they just start looking at their Facebook. I've done it. I always, like, when I'm half asleep, I drop the phone and hit my face, right? And I know I'm not the only one that does that. It hurts. But, like, if you, like, catch yourself, like, see, like, oh, I'm on my lunch break and I'm scrolling. Guess what? If you're scrolling, more than likely someone else is scrolling too, right? And it's probably the people that you're wanting to attract. If you work out at a gym, during a certain time, and, like, after the gym, y'all are all kind of sitting around, like, you're on your phones, or even before, like, waiting for the class, like, those times where you catch yourself kind of taking a break and social media scrolling is probably when you should be posting. Now, if you're like Ashley, where, it's changing a little bit, you have to figure that out. You have to figure out your schedule, because mine was different too when I was working. I was kind of in the same boat, I guess, as Ashley. I was working, I was posting on my way to work. I was posting not on my way. I wasn't like texting and posting, but I was posting right before I went to work. During my, don't text and post, or don't post and drive. Do it when you're stopped at a parking space. But if you on your way to work, post during your lunch break if you can. And if you're like, I don't have time, maybe you don't get a long lunch break, write up your post beforehand. Like I said, make that list of those feelings that you have, or who you were at before Beachbody, and what it's giving you, and craft some posts. Like, I have posts in my notes saved, like all of, and y'all aren't gonna be able to see them really, but like all of those, majority of those are posts that I've like crafted for later use, or maybe posts that I've used in the past that I really, really like, or that got really good engagement. I'll just copy paste, save it in my notes. So then that way, when I am like, I do this full time, so I'm home most of the time. But when I am like out and about, and I'm like, man, like I need to get a post in. I haven't posted since 1 whatever. Then you can copy paste, add that picture in, and then you're not having to craft it in the middle of your lunch break. It just makes it a little bit easier. And I know Ashley just showed her phone. She does the same thing. If you see a post from another coach and you get really inspired by it, do not copy and paste it. Make it into your own, but you can save it in your, in your thing, like screenshot it, get some ideas from that post and craft your own. Don't just change one word, craft your own completely own post. Okay. Because that makes a difference too, y'all. Like, especially if you're from the same state or from the same area, or you have other coaches that are in the area and you're using their same post, like, people are going to see it, and then they're going to think that we're just like a scripted robot of what like all these other companies do, where they give them scripts of like what to post. We don't do that, because we just share what we're doing. And my story is different from your story, like your story is different from Ashley's story, like Ashley's story is different from Madeline and Marcel and Jillian. Like, we're all different, right? We all have completely different stories. So make sure that you are crafting your story in your post. Okay. Yes, Sarah, 4:30 a.m. is coming very early. So if y'all don't have any other questions, that was really good questions. If y'all don't have any other questions for me, or if y'all don't want to say anything else real quick, it's 9, so I don't want to respect your time. And I know people got to get their kids to bed and wake up bright and early. What's up, Erin? I see your hand go up.
Okay. I just feel like sometimes not going back to the whole story thing, but like I feel like I struggle with my story sometimes. And y'all, I honestly like I don't know. I don't know if we just have it good. Like, like I'm comfortable with the house I live in. Like happily married, have a kid. I've been kind of through what Leslie is going through. I mean, I've had 3 miscarriages since my daughter, and I know that's when I wanted to start getting back into shape because I knew we were kind of done having kids. But I don't know. Does anybody else kind of struggle with? I don't know. It's like I need to dig deep and find.
Your story doesn't necessarily have to be a struggle either.
Right.
So I think that's another thing. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like this sad thing. Just think about who you were, even if it was a happy you.
Right.
Was there something missing? Was there something that you wanted that you didn't know how to get, or you didn't go? I'll have to find the call that I listened to because it was really good and it talked about this too. But it doesn't also have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be something like bad that happened to you. Most people's, everyone's life isn't perfect, right? So most people do have a struggle that can relate, but your happiness can relate to people too. It doesn't have to be sad all the time.
Right.
So that's also something to think about.
And that's what I do. Like I post a lot about being a mom. Like my daughter's starting school this year. That's been a struggle for me because I'm crying every morning when she gets dressed. But like, and I do post about, I guess like my life and which I know is my story, but
yeah. You just have to sit down, like I said, write it out like pieces and parts. And again, it doesn't have to be like something traumatic or sad or bad necessarily. It could be good. It could be, that you are happy in your life and in your marriage and with your family, but you wanted to be a part of something bigger. You wanted to feel like you are making a difference. Like whatever. I mean, I say this all the time. Teachers, nurses have this passion to help people, and talking about feeling how you feel when someone messages you saying you inspired them. Like just doing that's part of your story. And I do suggest y'all getting interviewed by somebody, a fellow coach, if you have a success partner in this business, or even like you want to sit down and talk to like your husband or your spouse or your mom or whoever and say like, hey, I'm trying to do this little project of like getting more of my story out there. Like, could we sit down and there's actually, I believe, a list of questions. I need to go back and look in Jesse's training, but I'm pretty sure that he has like a list of questions that you can ask in the interview. Record yourself. Okay, even if it's in person, I know it's like super awkward, but record yourself and go back and listen, because I promise you, like you're gonna, and I don't mind sharing. Well, I probably should go back and listen to it first, but I guess I wouldn't mind sharing my interview. I mean, it's long; it's like an hour long, and I don't even know if y'all would be interested in it because some of it is just kind of stupid. But I mean, you can get something out of it. So either ask your upline. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I can't do them for every single person on our team, but I don't mind doing like a little interview with some of you if you want, and or asking your success partner if you're working with someone, with your challenge groups or whatever, or if you want a family member or spouse or whoever. It might be better to do it with someone you don't know very well. I know it seems like opposite, like you're like, well, I don't know them, I'm not going to tell them, like, but I know for me, like, I wouldn't want to tell some of the stuff that I had told Brittany, my old success partner, like, I wouldn't have told Tyler. Like, I wouldn't have said it because I would have been like, he doesn't need to know that. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm still sharing those pieces and parts, but like, I would have been like, oh, he's going to think I'm stupid, or he's going to think I'm like ridiculous for even saying that. So I would say doing it with someone, not necessarily you don't know, but like someone that you're not like related to, or someone that you're not like super, super close with, where you feel like intimidated to share a piece that you think would be vital. Does that make sense? So does anyone else have any questions or want to say anything? No? Okay, I'm also going to start asking, just really quick before we hop off, I'm going to start asking a few other coaches from some other teams to share on our calls. If there's someone that you follow, and I can't get like Bonnie Engel, okay? But if there's someone that you follow that you feel like could add value to our team, maybe, and it might be someone up there, I don't know, and it might be someone I don't follow, but I can ask. I don't mind reaching out and being like, hey, I want you to speak on my team call. So if it's someone, whoever you follow that you think would be valuable, send me a message, or reach out to me and just say like, hey, I'm following XYZ, and like I really like to get other coaches' perspectives, because I learned a certain way, or I actually taught myself a certain way on how to do things. And I know coaches do it differently, and it might work. What works for me might not work necessarily for you specifically. Doing things different is always a good thing too. Is always a good thing too. So I can ask Danielle Natoni. I'll try. She's super busy, but I can try. She's the one that's up there, but it won't hurt to try. If not, I can ask like Lindsay Stay to get her to talk on her team call. But I can try. I really don't mind messaging Danielle and Tony and be like, hey, you want to try and talk on my team call? But a lot of those top coaches like that, they want to talk on like bigger team calls. But again, I don't mind asking or getting Lindsay Stay to be like, hey, can you get Danielle and Tony to talk on DFG call? Because I'll ask her. I don't mind. But yeah, anyone that you are like, that's my vibe. And y'all, if there's someone like that, like, go watch their YouTube videos too. They have their team calls. A lot of those coaches have their team calls on their YouTube channels, or even in podcasts. Like, I don't know if Danielle Natoni has one, but I know I follow Joelle Seuss and Andrea Crowder. If you don't follow them, they're freaking hilarious. But I listen to their podcast. They have like a team podcast, and I listen to it when I want some extra PD or extra like business PD. Christine DeWire, who is like, she's not a founding coach, but she's like pretty much a founding coach. I listen to her podcast. So like anything like that, like go listen. I mean, they all have valuable information. National Wake Up Call, go listen to it, y'all. I promise you, it is super helpful. They really are super helpful, and I'm trying to get myself back into listening to those because I had kind of stepped away for a little bit. But all right, well, I hope everyone has a good night. If y'all have any questions about your story, y'all let me know. If you have any questions about sharing, or you're struggling with something, like, reach out. That's what I'm here for. That's what Ashley's here for. That's what your team is here for. We can help you, and I can try and help you any way that I can. Okay, so reach out. We can't help you if you don't ask. All right, so thank you so much for getting on. We'll see you next week. See some of you in the morning. If anyone wants to join, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. Oh yeah, picture. Yeah. Oh, I should have taken one when everyone else was on. Okay, everyone smile. 1, 2, 3. Yay. Okay. I always forget to take pictures. Ashley, you forgot to remind me.
I didn't get to come here to ask for your ticket.
Oh, no, it's done. You're fine. You're ridiculous. You can take one. Take one.
It looks so good like this. Okay, hold on.
You take one. She's ridiculous.
1, 2, 3. I got like 47 of them, by the way.
I'm sure you did. All right. Goodbye, y'all. Good night. Talk to y'all later.
Bye, everyone.